Radio Network, Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are making us a part of your day. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, on your mobile device as well with the ESPN app, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So much to get to here on the show. We'll hear from Jalen Camp, former Georgia Tech wide receiver, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He will join us. We'll talk to him about his draft journey and getting ready to play there in Jacksonville in the not-too-distant future as we work towards training camp, etc. Also, Ben Ingram, Braves Radio Network, will join us, and we'll get his thoughts on what was a wild weekend in Atlanta between the Braves and the Phillies as the Braves get shellacked on Friday night, have maybe one of the most insane comeback stories you could think of on Saturday, and then close it out on Sunday with a win over the Phillies, now a game and a half out of first place in the National League East. So looking forward to chatting with Ben Ingram coming up here in just a little bit, and just looking at the Braves weekend that was absolutely incredible. But certainly right before we came on the show, a little bit of breaking news, and I know it'll send folks in a bunch of different directions with this one, but apparently the Jags are bringing Tim Tebow in on a contract, I guess, to see if he can make the team. I believe the third string tight end at this point, Urban Meyer, going to give him a shot. Thoughts, as obviously this sets off a whole cloud of who knows what with Tim Tebow.
I love Tim. I hate to have to pre-qualify anything, Kevin and BJ, but I love Tim Tebow, right? But this is the thing. Tim Tebow keep getting to go to the front of the line. Not his fault. I mean, a great guy, married now, does great things for, planet Earth. I mean, he just does. But Tim Tebow will never ever get the hint that most of the time, if I like fizzle out from the position I played my whole life, that's it. Like if I play quarterback, and every time they talk about me playing quarterback, they're gonna show my time in Florida and the one pass I threw to Bebe for a touchdown against zero coverage in the playoffs. That's the full extent of my NFL career. But then I want to play baseball. I was never gonna actually make it, to the bigs. I was gonna run out for the Mets, but I sell tickets. Then lo and behold, the coach that made me a star is now in the NFL, and he called me and said, "You want to play tight end?" And instead of him saying no, he said, "Of course, I think I can play tight end." And here we are again, talk about Tim Tebow, because when Kevin or BJ, when he catches a 5-yard catch, Gus Johnson is gonna go, "Oh my God, it's the greatest 5-yard catch I ever seen." But the thing about it is this: I couldn't play the quarterback position just because I can throw. I couldn't play running back because I can hit the A gap. Tight end is not an easy position to just play, and I feel bad for Tim Tebow because I think he's in a position to do something a friend asked him to do. And BJ, because your Jags just might have the worst set of tight ends in the NFL, is the only reason why he's even getting a shot right now.
Well, look, I think there's a certain level of energy and excitement to this because of Tebow mania, as it says right there on the screen. I think people read about Tebow, they hear about Tim Tebow, and they start, going crazy. And could he do this? Could he do that? People are already talking about, could this impact ticket sales? And I'm thinking, well, he hasn't even made the team yet. Much less do we even know if he's going to be a functional member who can get out there and actually, Ben, like you said, catch passes. I like you. I like Tim Tebow a lot, rooting for him, but it seems like a long shot, at least for me on the surface, if I'm being honest, to say, hey, a guy that hasn't played pro football in 7-8 years, maybe, is going to come back and play football at football's highest level at a position where he's never before played. I think that's a lot to ask. Now, obviously, the relationship with Meyer, they know each other well. Meyer knows Tebow's skill set. I think it's a cool story. You talk about Tebow coming back to his hometown and having a chance to play. I think it's a cool story, yes. But I mean, Ben, I'll ask you even, and Kevin, you might be about to ask him. I mean, the same question I'm thinking is it possible for somebody to not play tight end ever, not play in the NFL for close to a decade, or at least over a half decade, and then all of a sudden, and I'm sure he's been working out and he's a great athlete and all that, but is it possible to then come back and suddenly be competitive at that position?
I mean, it's possible, highly unlikely, but that's the thing. A lot of things are possible. I mean, it's possible that I can come back in the NFL and be productive. Highly unlikely. And the thing is this. I mean, BJ, okay, you and Kevin been doing radio a long time. Took an 8-year out, been away from radio for 8 years.
Right?
The radio has changed. Everything has changed. and you come in and go, welcome back to it. Wait a minute, Kevin, you gotta wait. What do you? And I think that's what it is. Number one, though, at least you did radio. He's throwing the tight ends. You know how tight ends supposed to look running routes. He know the blocking scheme, but he's directing traffic. He's not used to being the one being directed to go out there and make things happen. So once again, sometimes the fans will and the numbers and your previous life will lie to you. Tebow is an incredible. When we talk about the hierarchy and when it comes to college football, he's in the room and that's it. Like that's it. And sometimes your favorite player just didn't make it on the pro level, and we got to just accept that. I don't see Tim Tebow being successful at tight end because if we don't judge him how we judge every other tight end, I don't want to hear that nonsense. He's never played tight end. Well, he's playing it now. And right. when he get meleeed, when he get hit, it's going to be half because of who he is and half because there are guys who are way more deserving who should get an opportunity. And because he knows Urban Meyer, he's obviously getting a 1-year deal.
Well, I put that out there. He's got to make the team first, obviously. And again, I think just Father Time would say this is probably not going to turn out. I mean, it's kind of ironic that he's doing what everybody kind of told him to do way back when, was like, hey, don't try quarterback, just try to be a tight end guy and see if you can contribute. But if you remember, Michael Vick missed 2 years due to obviously his story very well. And when he came back, he was on a team, but he was not the same Michael Vick that he was before all that happened. And that was him playing quarterback again. That was him coming back to the same spot. So I think Tebow going into tight end, it's a nice story. I think we had a comment there that said, hey, look, Tim Tebow, Jaguars equals full stadiums, total marketing. I get some of that. To me, he's still got to make the team at some point. And to me, what this could be, if you are, think Urban Meyer is this, diabolical in his thinking is, hey, if Tim Tebow's there at training camp, are we talking as much about Trevor Lawrence? Maybe. But are we talking more about, is Tim Tebow, after 8 years of not playing, actually going to make a squad at a different position? Could it just be that now you've brought more sideshow to distract from the sideshow that is your number one pick with the great hair that's come to save the franchise? Maybe. I think this might actually be a blessing if you're Trevor Lawrence to have Tim Tebow in training camp, even if he doesn't make the team. Allow yourself to get comfortable without, the first practice he's at, it's going to be all Tebow questions, right? Trevor, you look pretty good, but what about Tim being out there? You just know that's what's going to be, even with him being the number one pick, man. I think could this be a sideshow to the sideshow that was already going to happen with Trevor Lawrence coming in?
Absolutely. It's going to be, Kevin, think about it. When he was with Denver, they was like, we want Tebow, and it didn't work out. And the only reason, people got to talk about the season he had to make it to the playoffs. Tebow had a game that he completed one pass before. In the NFL, he completed one pass, and they won. I know I'm sitting here looking at Cody. I'm probably taking Cody back to the dark ages of when he was a Denver Broncos fan, when you look at what Tebow didn't do. And he went to the Jets, and kind of what New Orleans do with Taysom Hill, it's kind of how they saw Tim Tebow being with the Jets. It just didn't work. So then he goes to baseball, like I said. But now, Trevor Lawrence and these guys grew up hearing about Tim Tebow. Travis Etienne, Josh Allen. Literally everybody on the team heard about Tim Tebow, who just happened to go to high school where? In Jacksonville. It's just working out until he stinks. And I'm going to say this. When he starts stinking it up, it's going to be – people don't ask Tim Tebow how they ask everybody else. They'll be like, Tim, not to really say anything bad, but what happened today? Well, he didn't play well. So I don't look for Tim Tebow to have any level of real success as we talk about what tight ends do, but they're going to give him every opportunity to make the team. And once again, BJ, outside of Luke Farrell, Oshak Hennessy, he got to beat out a rookie to play, and a guy who, Oshak, he be just as shot as anybody else when they throw him a pass.
Yeah, you don't have a proven depth chart at tight end. I think you're looking for contributors. I think you're looking to establish, 1, 2, 3 options potentially at the position. But I guess, Ben, your understanding of the nuance of the position speaks for itself and kind of what it takes. But Tim, I believe, will be 34 years old in August. So you're talking about not only not having played the position, not only having been out of the NFL for 7, 8 years. I don't know what it is exactly. This news again breaking kind of right before the show, but also being 34 years old. And I do have my questions about that and my doubts, quite honestly. But if you're Urban Meyer also, or if you're Jacksonville's front office, do you look at it as, look, this is a move where maybe Tim has some sort of athleticism, something he can do. There aren't going to be any expectations. There's kind of low pressure. I mean, and if it works, it works. I mean, look, it's something that on the surface seems not likely to me. It's something that on the surface comes with many more questions than answers, like how, why, what are the expectations, where did this come from? But I know a lot of people are rooting for this. I mean, if he were to make the team, will you have a lot of jerseys saying Tebow in the state? Yes, everywhere. Yes.
Oh, including you. Don't act like if Tebow don't. BJ, if you got a Gardner Minshew, I mean, you was doing the Gardner Minshew mustache.
He's gonna have a whole new wardrobe.
Exactly. Now look. I mean, I am rooting for Tim Tebow, but this is the thing. If Tim Tebow and all these situations that be happening to him don't happen for every other tight end, this is why guys like are envious of him. This is why guys don't like him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't know who he knows in the Mets organization, but he was like, I want to play baseball. Oh, come on over here to the Mets. Oh,
but are there other guys? Maybe are there other guys who could make the team potentially?
What? He's never played tight end in his life.
Well, I mean, again, certain athletes Michael Jordan quit to go play baseball. He got to AA pretty quick. I mean, I'm not saying he did, but I mean, elite athletes that have been kind of transcendent both on the field, off the field, sometimes will get an extra hit. But again, I would be very surprised if he's on the opening day roster at tight end for Jacksonville when this is all said and done. We've got so much to get to. Send us your thoughts. Tim Tebow, Jags, you buying it? At Twitter, or on Twitter, at Pigskin Radio. At Pigskin Radio. We'd love to hear from you. We're live all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can leave us a comment there as well. We'd love to hear from you on this Monday, but the Braves have a big weekend. We'll talk about it ahead of Ben Ingram, who's set to join us in 20 minutes. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Ben Ingram going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes or so here on 3 and Out. We'll look at the Braves and what they have coming up, another series with the Blue Jays after the Blue Jays put it on the Braves down in South Florida. But what a weekend, BJ and Ben. A absolute humbling on Friday night. And you're thinking, uh-oh, here they go again. And then they bounce back and take the next 2 in the series. I believe they've won 4 of their last 5 ball games, have the Atlanta Braves, game and a half out of first place. And certainly Saturday night was gut-wrenching, comical, and magical all at the same time. And BJ and Ben, I said last week, I said, hey, each season, if you're worried about a team is struggling, maybe they just need that moment, that spark, to kind of get them going full-fledged in the right direction. Well, the Braves were down 3-0 in the early innings on Saturday night. Ian Anderson settled down, left the game, only giving up 3. You're down to your last strike in the 9th inning. You hit a 2-run bomb with Kung Fu Panda to tie it up. You then go to extra innings. You get to the 11th. You get down again. You come back, and Christian Pache scores on a throwing error by Didi Gregorius. So you tie it again. Then you get down again on potentially some of the worst defense the Braves have played in the history of baseball, with a bad throw to home on a comebacker to the pitcher with the bases loaded. You're down 3 going to the 12th. So obviously you need 3 runs in 1 inning of baseball, and that's not easy to chalk up. And you end up getting 4. I mean, and win the ball game. I really believe Saturday could be one of those moments where the team kind of gets it on track and going, because Sunday night, Huascar Ynoa gives up the home run ball, first pitch of the ball game. No more runs scored the rest of the night. Freddie Freeman starting to come around. Dansby Swanson starting to hit the ball a lot better. Austin Riley. I think Austin Riley, in terms of his OPS and for third baseman, was right up there. One of the best OPSs for third baseman in the league. So after his slow start, he started to come around. And it seems like if the pitching catches up, BJ, this Braves team maybe found a little magic there on Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night was incredible. Was kind of even hard to justify when you talk about defying the odds and finding a way to come back. Pablo Sandoval, it's truly remarkable what he's done. It's borderline historic already. I mean, and it's amazing, Kevin, because right back in the preseason, so many people said, well, the bench is going to be, the weakness for this team. Well, that has not been the case with Sandoval and others, but I agree with what you're saying with, we're getting a comment there that this could be a springboard game. You need these games sometimes to give you that momentum that you can't create, you can't manufacture with a speech or with a talk. The performance helps you realize your full potential. And you mentioned you have that Saturday night, you turn around and you play one of your best, most complete games of the season on Sunday. So Atlanta right now is hot. That game on Saturday, we may look back on, Ben, in a couple of weeks and say that's what did it. That's what helped the Braves kind of get into high gear and start playing their best baseball. And you did it against a really good team, a team that's a contending team that's right there with you. So you needed that. I think all of us, the multiple times it looks like the Braves were going to lose when you're watching that game, we're looking around going, man, here we go. That's going to be 2 losses. You're going to lose the series now to Philadelphia. And for them to bounce back the way they did, find a way to win Contreras at the end, it was very special and very meaningful, I think.
And the thing about it is Pablo was not, he had nothing to do with the late game heroics here last year, Kevin, but I'm glad to have him. I mean, because what happens is, you start asking yourself, who has been the spark throughout this season? It's been Pablo. I mean, obviously it's been Ronald Acuna, but we talk about a guy that gives you what you need when you need it, while you waiting on the starting pitching to get there, while you waiting on the bullpen to get there, while Freddie Freeman was going through his slump. But you'll take the win. But the thing is, that's what makes the Braves dangerous. I mean, the fact that you can have the 11th and the 12th inning the way it was. I mean, like Kevin said, you need a 3 win. You need a 3 runs. You got 4. And not too many teams can do that. I mean, just because, not the Dodgers or not the Yankees, not everybody can do what the Braves do, but it shows why the Braves are so dangerous. It shows why that NL East is probably going to come down to 2 or 3 games or the last series of the year. But I'm happy that they got it done because, Kevin, like me, like most, I'm like, okay, well, they down by 3. That's it. Turn it off. And then, you keep refreshing your phone because it's saying, 8-7. I'm like, who? The Braves got 8? So I do think that this team have a lot of firepower. They have a lot of guys you can call on. I mean, and I'm kind of happy at the fact that Freddie Freeman can go through a slump and the Braves don't just lose their mind as a team. Because it used to be if Freddie Freeman didn't play well, that's it. We are long past those days of Kevin, something I'm always talking about with Freddie Free. I think do he be just trying to live up to the fact that he's the reigning MVP sometimes, just not, trying to do too much with every at bat instead of just going up there being poised. But I am happy at this Braves team getting back to their winning ways. It's much easier to come in here on Monday to talk about the Braves win because it seems as though the Braves either win in dramatic fashion or they lose going away. Like I don't know why they got to work on that in between, but I am happy at the fact they're getting back to their winning ways. Like I said, this NL East is going to come down to the wire, but the Braves are keeping pace right now.
Certainly, and again, I think, as I said, and we had Brad hitting us up on Facebook saying it's the kind of game that can start a winning streak for a month. I really believe that. You come from behind and do some crazy stuff like that, that can really spur you. The Braves also then go out and sign Shane Green, so help is on the way for the bullpen as well. So I think this Braves team might be on the verge of hopefully finding itself and putting together a nice little run, which, again, now that you're kind of putting the National League East behind you for a little bit, I mean, you've lived this first month plus doing nothing but the East for the most part, and now you might get a chance to slide out and play some other teams. Really might spur you on. I think seeing Dansby, Freddie Freeman, some other guys kind of step up offensively as well has got to make you feel good on the whole. We'll come back. Ben Ingram, voice of the Atlanta Braves and Braves Radio Network. He's going to join us when we return. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on this Monday. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, glad you are with us here on this Monday all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Braves with a big series win over the Phillies last night. And joining us here on the Braves Radio Network, one of the voices of the Braves as well, Ben Ingram joins us here on 3 and Out. Ben, welcome to the program. How are you?
Doing well, fellas. Appreciate you having me today.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. And just a wild, crazy series all the way around. But is Saturday night one of the wildest games you've been a part of? And might that be one of those magical moments that spurs a team off in a big direction?
You know, I was thinking about it after that game, and Joe and I were looking at each other after the ball game, and I can't think of another game that really comes close to what we saw Saturday night. That's one of the most absurd games I've ever seen in my entire life. So to win a ball game like that was amazing, coming from behind 3 times in the 9th, 11th, and 12th, and then to roll that right into yesterday's ball game, win 6-1. I have no idea what it's going to look like this week with a good Toronto team coming in and then going to Milwaukee next weekend. But it wouldn't shock me if the Braves went on a little bit of a run and it became obvious where we said, well, let's go back to May the 8th. This is where it all started. It just seems like it was one of those kinds of games where what happened can be more than just one day, can be more than just one game. I would hope that could springboard them, and not just that game, but just the series in general. That was a good Philly team that came in, a team that was red hot. They'd won in a row. They won game 1, 12-2. So to turn it around the way that they did, I think that was a major statement for the team. And get back to 500, you bring back Shane Green, and hopefully things are getting better on the mound.
Yeah, and you take a series from Philadelphia. You have a good – you're now at 500. Kind of assess the confidence level of the team right now for us, Ben, now that they are 500.
Sure, I don't know that it necessarily changes their confidence level. I think it's been a confident team. I think the issue for them has been just being healthy on the mound. It's a team that started out slow offensively, but that's not a problem. I mean, you look around Major League Baseball and you see averages down just about everywhere. This team is going to hit. They're over 125 games left in the season. They know that the runs are going to come. What they've needed is health on the mound. They've needed consistency in the rotation. They've not had that. And to be quite honest, it's been a pretty bad bullpen a lot of nights. And you just have not had the guys that you've needed to run out there in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings with a lead. I think that's starting to change. I think we're starting to see better stuff out of Matzik and Mentor. Will Smith is a really good arm, and the Braves know that he can close. He's been really good in that role. But you might say that it was a better situation last year when you could use Will in the 8th inning and give it to Melancon in the 9th. You won't have Mark Melancon this year, but you bring back Shane Green, and who's to say that once they get into July and closer to the trade deadline that you could add even more arms to that bullpen. So I think that it's a team that needs to get healthy in the rotation first. They took a big step towards that in getting Max Fried back. And they've got to be more sound in the bullpen and need more right-handers. And with Shane Green being signed and then Chris Martin likely coming off IL this coming week, I think that's really big for this team. So I think their confidence is from the fact that they're getting healthier more than anything.
And Ben, I mean, when you talk about some of the additions, I mean, obviously you're talking about this is a Braves team that definitely has, big postseason aspirations. But how big has a guy like Pablo Sandoval been for this team? Not just what he's done offensively, but just from, the jolt of energy he brings seamlessly coming in, hitting clutch home runs every time you need to step up.
It's really hard to even put a value on what that guy has been for this team. I mean, you think about 4 pinch hit home runs, and it's not even Memorial Day yet. I mean, you'd have killed to have 4 pinch hit home runs all season out of Pablo Sandoval. Watching him at spring training, he wasn't hitting any home runs. I don't think he hit a single home run all spring, and he was getting his hits. He was getting his hits from both sides of the plate. And I thought to myself, all right, well, this is good. This is a good option, a guy who can make contact off the bench, but he's probably not going to give you a whole lot of pop late in the ball game. You don't have that guy who can come off the bench and hit a home run, and we were all wrong on that one because that's all he's done since the season started. So to have 4 pinch hit home runs, what he did the other night on Saturday night was just magical. I mean, the team was down to their final strike twice. He's got a 1-2 count, and you lose that ball game, and you're doing your best the next day just to salvage the series. And he hits a home run, and it's just amazing to see him come through the way that he has. But especially Saturday night, so much value there, and especially from a guy that you didn't think was going to be a big home run threat off the bench late in the game. He's been that, and it's good to have that option late in the contest.
Ben Ingram joining us here on 3 and Out. And Ben, you mentioned Shane Green, the signing there. Chris Martin expected back, I believe, tomorrow. I mean, this could be a completely different look bullpen, potentially with Martin, with Green, potentially Sean Newcomb getting called back up. Where do you see the level of comfort moving in the coming weeks to when Brian Snicker's got to make a call down there?
Well, Snit will have better options. That's the thing. And nothing against those guys who have been in there. I think they've done about as well as they could. But you've got guys like Jacob Webb and Luke Jackson who have good stuff, but maybe they're not going to be as consistent as Green and Martin and Smith. You need consistency for the last 9 outs of the ball game. I love those guys. I think that Luke Jackson can be good. I think that Jacob Webb can be good. We've seen some pretty good things out of Grant Dayton here lately. Tyler Matzik is starting to show a little bit more of the form that he showed last year after a rough few weeks in April. And those guys do a good job, but what you're looking for is more options. You need more guys, and that to improve it with those two guys, with having Martin come back healthy, hopefully he can stay healthy. That's been his biggest issue. And then having Shane Green come back, it gives you so much more depth. And I think it's a 2-part process. Having more options and having the depth is one thing. But these starters have got to be going deeper in ball games. That's the best thing you can do for your bullpen, is having your starters going into the 6th inning, into the 7th inning, or beyond. We've seen that out of Huascar and Noah lately. I can't even imagine where this team would be without Huascar, as he's won his last 4 starts, has been pitching deep in ball games. You know that Charlie Morton's going to be, outside of what happened Friday night, he's typically going to be a 5 or 6 inning guy, and that's good. Ian Anderson has been, even in the face of not having his best stuff, has been gutting his way into the 6th inning. What he did Saturday night, after giving up 4 runs or the 2 runs early, gutting his way through it and finding a way to get the 6th inning, I thought that was huge for the team. So you're seeing better efforts. You feel like Max Fried, now that he's back and he's 100%, he can start going deeper in ball games. He certainly demands that out of himself. If you can get that, if you can routinely get 5, 6, 7 innings out of your rotation every single night, that's going to be the best thing for your bullpen. And then those guys are going to be even more lights out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. So it's easy to look at a blueprint and say, this is what it is. It's much more difficult to execute that, but that's what they're hoping to do a lot more now that they're getting healthier in the rotation and having more options there in their bullpen.
You mentioned Fried. He was obviously really effective last time out. Is the expectation now that he's good to go and it's his old self?
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing for Max was, and there's a slight, it wasn't just the hamstring. That was obviously the ailment for him, but there were a few mechanical things that he needed to adjust. And I think it was affecting his curveball and his slider more than anything. And that's his best secondary pitch and his second secondary pitch. A good fastball, 95, 96, 97, he locates it well. But that curveball is his bread and butter. And when you're going too hard, when you're throwing everything too hard, I think that's where he found himself. He was trying to do too much. He was overextending. He just didn't have the same effect on that secondary stuff that he did. And what I saw out of him that last go round looked a lot more like what we saw last year, where he was so good. He hardly gave up any home runs, didn't lose a ball game. So you get that Max Fried, and you're really in business. Then you're talking about Fried, Enoa, Ian Anderson. Those 3 guys have looked like aces in their career. And if that's as good as it gets, great. Happen to get Mike Soroka back and he's healthy, that's great as well. You just know that these guys have got to be healthy and consistent. And I think once this team does that, they'll hit a good stride.
And Ben, last year, 2020 was such a weird year in baseball when you look at the fact that the commissioner kind of saved the baseball season, only 60 games, and the Braves went well into the playoffs far deeper than we thought they would. How much of this season is just a reflection of you coming off a weird year to where, 60 games in a season, you still got most of the season left. These guys are just kind of getting back into their stride and kind of following what BJ said. Do you think that Freddie Freeman is just trying to live up to the fact that he's the reigning MVP right now?
Well, it is an interesting adjustment. Now, here's the interesting thing. These guys are used to playing 162, but let's not fool ourselves. You skip 162 for a year and you only play 60 games. I don't know that necessarily changes your mindset. I think these guys and their mindset, they're used to 162. I'm just wondering if we get into June, July, or even August, and after going let's say 8, 9, 10 starts for some of your starters last year, and all of a sudden they're getting to 20, 25, 30 starts this season and carrying that workload that's 3 times what they had last year. I wonder if there could be more wear and tear across the league. I wonder if there could be more fatigue across the league. I think that's something that they'll have to battle against. I think that's something that teams are very mindful of once we get into the warmer months in July and August. And you're seeing these guys for the first time in 2 years really take on a mega workload, because last year was nothing like what they're used to. So it was a different season, but I think that now that we're getting closer to the 40-game mark, I think these guys are back into the mode of 162. Last year was such an unbelievable outlier, playing just 60 games, and it was great to see them adjust the way that they did. Everybody was able to stay fresh. I think you just have to battle against the fatigue of not doing 162 for 2 years, right back into doing that this season, and that'll be interesting to watch in the next few months.
Ben Ingram, Braves Radio Network, joining us here on 3 and Out. Ben, I want to ask, I guess, kind of big picture questions on a couple of players here with the Braves right now, and maybe kind of the Braves thinking moving forward. One being Christian Pache. He's hitting 107. His on-base percentage is right around 150. How long do they ride that out with him offensively? And secondly, another guy, William Contreras, who a lot of folks said probably needs to play every day, is really playing well. Do they stick with him when other catching opportunities come back?
All right, I'll start with Contreras. I think he's your guy. I think he's carrying the load every single day. There's no doubt he is ready to be in the big leagues every single day. It's just a maturation process. At 23 years old, it's so abnormal to see a catcher that young be your everyday guy. You might see plenty of 23-year-olds playing other positions every single day in the big leagues, but it's different at the catching position. There's a reason that you see so many veteran catchers, and you don't see too many young guys, big-time prospects, who break in behind the plate at 22, 23, 24, and they just run with it. Those guys are very few and far between, and the reason is it's such an adaptation process for those guys to get to the big leagues, learn a pitching staff, learn to control a game, learn how to command a game. That doesn't just happen, and you can understand how that might be intimidating for a 22, 23-year-old who's been in the big leagues for 5 minutes compared to a 29, 30, 31, 32-year-old catcher who's been there, who has so much more wisdom and so much more knowledge behind the plate. Those guys are very, very valuable. So what you're seeing with Contreras, I think, is something that's pretty rare in the game. Doesn't mean that he can't handle it. And he's going to get better and better. The bat is there, and you really don't have any better options. We'll see what happens with Tyler Flowers. I know that they signed him to a minor league deal. Personally, I expect him to be up sometime by the end of this month or maybe even first week of June. I think that Jeff Mathis is a better defensive option. I think Jeff Mathis is a very good defensive catcher. I think he's a better defensive option than Tyler Flowers. But Tyler Flowers has a better bat. We'll see what they want to do there. But William Contreras, I think, is going to be your guy pretty much day in, day out. And you'll see Mathis, or once Flowers comes up, 2, maybe 3 times a week tops. So that's where I see Contreras being, and I think it'll be very valuable for him. I don't expect to see Travis d'Arnaud until much later in the season. And once he's back, I don't even know what he can be, because that thumb injury, that is such a tough injury for a catcher. That's going to be so tough for him to get back to holding the bat and swinging the stick. I think that's going to be a very tough adjustment, even once he's healthy, to come back and get back up to game speed. And we'll see how they do there. With Christian Pache, I don't know that there's a right answer for Christian right now. Defensively, he's going to be as good as you have. But once Guillermo Heredia is healthy enough to come back, I think they'll probably put Heredia back in center field because his bat is so much better. I've heard from multiple people about about Pache. I've heard varying opinions, some opinions, and these are from people that are in the Braves front office and people who make such decisions. There are some people who think that he needs more seasoning and that he should go to AAA and he should get his bat where it needs to be. Defensively, great, but you got to have more than what he's doing offensively. I've also heard from some people who have said, look, you've got plenty of boppers in your order. Once everybody is healthy, you've got plenty of guys who can drive and run. Christian, just put him out there every single day and let him continue to get better. So I don't know what the answer to that question is. And I think once Heredia is back, I think we might see more of him.
Ben Ingram, Braves Radio Network, our guest here on 3 and Out. Ben, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
You got it, fellas. Thank you.
Appreciate it. The Braves off tonight. They will be back against the Blue Jays starting tomorrow for a 3-game set. We appreciate Ben joining us. We'll come back with more 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Glad to have you along here on this Monday. Braves off tonight as they get ready for the Toronto Blue Jays coming up for a 3-game set, who took care of them about a week ago or so. But did want to give a little shout to the Hawks tonight, BJ and Ben. They are playing tonight against the Wizards. They are in the playoffs presently with 4 games to go in 5th place, 2 games removed from that play-in tournament. So barring a complete meltdown, I know we got a comment here. Brad Sellers didn't want Westbrook to go off and get a triple-double against the Hawks on their home floor. But at the very least, it looks like the Hawks might be, dare I say, locked into a playoff spot of some kind, barring a complete and total meltdown.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed watching this team, and they've been really good at home. You're talking about a team that is now, 6 or 7 games above 500, a squad that has 9, I think, guys averaging double figures, which is a testament to the depth and balance on the roster. And look, Trae Young has taken another step. A lot of the young guys have been really good, but I've really enjoyed watching Clint Capella. When you think about, it's been a while since Atlanta has been able to win games from the paint, and you think about he's like 15 rebounds a night, really good at blocking shots. You have a nice rotation of a depth along the interior there, but there are some nights where I look at the box score, I watch the game, Ben, and Capella has 18 rebounds, 20 rebounds, 24 rebounds. I'm going, man, this is impressive. You can control a game that way, and sometimes it adds an element of your game that can sort of serve as improved defense, where even if you're not necessarily dramatically different just defensively in terms of you're a team that likes to run and gun, if you can control the paint and get rebounds, it limits opportunities. And I think that's helped the Hawks a lot, what you've seen from Capella. So really interesting team, really dynamic team, really balanced team, really fun to watch.
I think you give Coach Nate McMillan a lot of credit. I think sometimes, we keep talking about what Lloyd Pierce didn't do. I think you look at what Nate McMillan was able to do. He's inherited the same team where he's only added Lou Will. And this is a Hawks team that we was always saying, can they get over the hump? Can they defend? Now, that's still yet to be seen as a team. You got a couple of guys that's willing to go out there and make things happen, BJ. I do agree with you when you talk about what Clint Capella can do. I think he's in the top 2 or 3 in the NBA in offensive rebounds, which for this team to go where they're trying to go, which I don't even think they know where they're trying to go, which Nate McMillan got them moving in the right direction. Lou Will and his ability to just bring a winning presence, a winning attitude, a guy who understands how to win, how to go out there and run the offense. Trae Young is going to get you buckets, but he's always going to be a defensive liability. This team is in the 5th spot, got a chance to not have to worry about being in the play-in game, got a chance to make the playoffs. I think we need to celebrate that. They are still very, very young, but I know we're going to get to it. If this team can make it in the first round matchup against the Knicks, for which everybody's going crazy because it's the Knicks, I think they got a shot, BJ, to potentially win a playoff series. So I like what Nate McMillan is doing. I do think they got a young nucleus. They're going to have to keep it up because, when you talk about a team that, your best player is 22, 23 years old, who doesn't even – I don't like to say that Trae Young doesn't try on the defensive side. It just doesn't matter. He doesn't have the mass. He's not big enough of a player to go out there and make his presence felt. I'm very, very, very impressed what Nate McMillan is doing. A lot of times you go, our assistant coach is ready, and he's been ready.
Yeah, and again, this is a Hawks team. I think, BJ, we've been waiting. It's like you had the number 1 draft. Weren't the Hawks at one point starting 5 first-round draft picks in their starting lineup? You're like, all right, this team needs to get done. They need to move forward of some kind. And here they are, 4 games left to go, and are in pretty good shape to make the playoffs. And I know we'll get into that later in take 3 as well. But this is a team that I think has slowly over the course of the season started to bring some fans back in the fold and think, wait a minute, this team might actually be pretty decent.
And you can shoot. You have great depth. You have some guys on the roster, like Ben said, who are committed to defending. Really seem like that's kind of the focal point of their game. And you've been better defensively. Give them credit. You're not going to be in the top 5 to 8 teams in the league, but you've taken steps forward defensively, and I think you've seen that kind of reflected in the standings. So I like this team. Like you said, Ben, I like the addition of Lou Williams. I like, the guys coming off the bench. I like the fact that you don't necessarily have to have the same 2 or 3 guys go out and score 20 every night. that you can kind of rotate through. I think that's the sign of a good team. And in terms of the playoffs, it's amazing to even be talking about the playoffs, given where the Hawks were not that long ago. But is this a team I want to see? No, because of their balance. And look, it's fun to be talking about Atlanta in the postseason.
And again, we'll take a look at it some more in take three as we come back around the corner. A full hour number two for you. Take three. We'll get into the name, image, likeness. Georgia Southern has weighed in on one provision in that new law as well. We'll let you know what the Eagles had to say on that, and we'll debate what could come with the name, image, name, image, and likeness law that was passed late last week. Hour two, right around the corner. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNcoastal.com. Love to hear from you on Twitter as well, at Pigskin Radio. Good to have you, hour two. Glad you are with us. A lot to get to here on the show. Jalen Camp, former Georgia Tech, now Jacksonville Jaguar wide receiver, will join us in the final hour of the program. We'll also look at name, image, likeness. Georgia Southern has weighed in on one provision of the name, image, likeness legislation that passed or was signed last week by Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But first, let's take three here on Three and Out. All right, fellas, take one. Kobe. I feel like that's the only appropriate way to say his name as well. Will be inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. What Kobe moment sticks out the most in your mind?
Wow. I was thinking about 81 points, because that's one of those performances where you're never going to have anything like that. I mean, the second most points ever to Wilt. You're talking about a game where the efficiency obviously was incredible. You might say, oh, did he hit 15 or 16 threes? No, he hit 7. I mean, he was hitting the mid-range. He was attacking the basket. He was making some threes, the free throw line. And to me, when you talk about Kobe, you talk about maybe the most versatile offensive player ever, maybe the most complete offensive player ever, where, some guys are really good three-point shooters. Some guys are great at attacking the basket. Some guys get a lot of their work done at the free throw line. Kobe was everything offensively. He could back you down. He could ISO. He could get to the rim whenever he wanted. He could shoot it from anywhere on the floor. And I think to see that kind of on display in such a historic fashion, and he also had the mindset of, you can't stop me. Like, I'm going to go out there and do what needs to be done for my team to win. You cannot stop him on the floor. I just think the 81 points, that performance is, one of those performances that you think about with the best ever in the NBA.
Wow. I mean, the greatest moment of Kobe, so many to choose from. I mean, are we talking about when he won number 8 or when he won number 24? We're talking about when he had the throw or when he went down to the, to the even fade, all even Steven. I mean, for me, BJ, obviously when he got the outlet pass and he did behind the back and dunked it, that's just a regular play for him. Or I think he was down 3-1 against the Celtics when they was going for when they were going for back-to-back, he came back and won. Or when he had the torn Achilles and went out and shot the free throws. But for me, I'm sticking with the 81. Him and Jalen Rose. When he did the commercial with Jalen Rose, that was so epic. Because, if you never see the commercial, Jalen walking through the restaurant and Kobe goes, Jalen, he goes, Cole, what's going on, man? And how's retirement treat? Just a little writing, just a little, sitting around. And then the guy comes up to him and the guy goes, what will you be having, Mr. Brown? He said, apple martini. He said, how many olives? He says, 81. And he looks at Jalen. And him and Jalen have a moment. He goes, I'm just playing. He gets it. To me, BJ, most guys have a mentality, right? Most people will not adopt your mentality. The Mamba mentality, one guy has it. One guy developed it, and the rest of the world has been trying to catch up since. So with all the many accomplishments, I think he won an Emmy for his writing or something like that, something he did. So for me, man, it's just Kobe Bryant and mentality that comes with him. Kobe Bryant, when you got 2 jerseys retired, 2, most people just want to be remembered for playing for a team. Number 8, number 24 done. But for me, it's the Mamba mentality. There will never, ever be another one like it.
Wow, so many. Again, the 81, I think, is probably right up there. I think, the going toe-to-toe, I know it's probably not the Kobe memory, but going toe-to-toe with Jordan, kind of like in the All-Star game, that passing of the torch that you knew was about to happen to Kobe at the end of the day. Certainly right up there. Take 2. Do the Hawks win a playoff series?
I think they can win one, and I understand that, saying that those are expectations that feel pretty immediate, right? It wasn't that long ago where you were looking at Atlanta going, hey, we just want to see some consistent play. We just want to see you live up to your potential in terms of, most nights you play pretty well. And now it's amazing how quickly it's all turned around. Coach McMillan, you talk about guys getting healthy. You talk about, adding some players. And this is a team that if you look at on paper, you nod your head and you go, okay, I could see it. And I think it'll come down to 3-point shooting, because I'm looking at the team stats. Not only does Atlanta shoot threes a lot, they shoot them well. The Hawks are 4th in the NBA as a team with 37.4% on a success rate on their three-pointers. If you can shoot threes and make threes at a high level, you're a dangerous team. You're a team that can win. Now, as we've seen, and there are countless examples, even in the NBA, if the threes aren't falling, you can quickly kind of lose control of a series. So do I think Atlanta right now in a series can beat the elite teams in the East? No. I think there's a clear difference in kind of the teams at the top that we look at as championship contenders and the teams that are kind of in that second or third tier. And that's no disrespect. That's the way all sports are. But do I think Atlanta could potentially win one series? And that is asking a lot for a young team that doesn't have, for the most part, guys on the roster playoff experience. You're talking about a new level of intensity, a new level of scrutiny, new expectations, obviously. So I don't know that I'm predicting it, but do I think they can win one series? Yes. I think two series would be a lot to ask.
I think they could. I mean, it's gonna be depending upon who they play. If they get the Knicks, which I hope they get the Knicks, I can see them winning that series because I think both teams are very, very similar. Both got young, superstars. You talk about R.J. Barrett. You talk about guys like Trae Young. You talk about role players like Julius Randle, for the Knicks. You talk about role players like Clint Capella, for the Hawks. And you talk about two teams. One is a story franchise with the Knicks who, I mean, thank God we were alive when they were good because most people that was born in the 90s, they was like the Knicks. I mean, the only time I ever been to Madison Square Garden to see, Elmo on ice. I'm just saying, but that's my life. That's my life. But I do think they can, BJ and Kevin, for the simple fact that Nate McMillan, he seems to understand how to get the best out of this roster. He seems to understand, and I understand too, BJ, something you said, living and dying with the three scares me when it come, because I think it's going to come down to quality possessions because they can take care of having some quality possessions, dare I say, get some defensive stops, not consistently, probably go 7 games. But I do think if they get the Knicks in the first round, a team that haven't been to the playoffs in a long time, going up against a team in Atlanta as of late they haven't been, but they was usual suspects in the playoffs. I think the Hawks got a fighting chance.
Hawks in the playoffs. I think Ben, as you said, if the season were to end right now, they would play the Atlanta Hawks or the New York Knicks rather in the playoffs if the season was over. But they still got 4 more games to go. I think they can do it if it is the Knicks. Certainty. Are they better than the top 1 or 2 in the East? I don't think so. But if it is the Knicks first round, I think they could get it done. Moving along, take 3, and probably most importantly, a video went viral this weekend of a 7-year-old crying because his dad was smoking him in video games. Do you ever let your kids win?
I mean, let them win? No. Now, there are certain games, one game in particular, where my son has just found a way to be better than me. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what some of the buttons do. It's one of the Star Wars games, right, where you get a character and you chase each other around or whatever, and you're battling or fighting. And I don't understand what I'm doing with some of the buttons. I don't understand like some of the boosters you get. Like, hey man, all of a sudden, your hits are more damaging. Plus, he knows the world map better than I do. Like, so if he's running and hiding or is trying to get to a spot or is kind of looking for the spot where the icons pop up, he knows where to go because he plays it more than me and I don't. But I'm not letting him win. Like, we'll just play and he'll win and he'll talk a little trash and I'll deal with it. But there are certain games where no, like if we're playing FIFA, no, I'm not letting him win. That's not happening. But my son is reaching a level on video games, some games where it ain't a matter of me letting him win. He's just going to go out and do his thing.
No, you never let him win. I mean, that's never ever, and that's not gender specific either. I have 2 daughters; they will get dominated. I don't care, and I was, daddy, you bigger than us. Oh yeah, I don't care. I do not. And why are we just making this our children thing? All the grandkids. I got a nephew that's 18. He's a big boy now too. So, he getting ready to go off to college. And he grabbed me one time, and I had to just say, I gave him that, boy, you know who you grabbed. Now, I walked to the bathroom like, that probably would have got ugly if he would have been in the mood. But, BJ, this is about mind dominance. That's it. We have to dominate them mentally because physically, Father Time is not on our side. It's just not. So, it's like how you said when I do parenting when it comes to kids. I'll say, you know what? Y'all can't clean up y'all room. Y'all can't even do it. And they'll do it. When it comes to sports, I mean, I was out there playing soccer with my daughter one time, man, and what got me in trouble was the endurance level. She wanted to play another game. I had to hit her with No, Daddy got something to do later on with Kevin and BJ. We gonna be late. I had to mind dominance again. The physicality is leaving because our prime. I'll say, unless you Deion Sanders, my prime been came and gone and went. That boat is sunk. So yes, BJ, we don't let them win anything because if you let them win, they're gonna expect me and BJ and Christian and Cody to let them win too, and that's not happening. And I know this is bad. I'm gonna use this, and I mean this respectfully. Okay. Thomas used to work at the network. We were playing basketball with Thomas. The way Richie played against Thomas, that's how we got to be, BJ. That's called equality. It ain't fair, but it is equal. That's all I'm saying. So dominate them until they start dominating us.
Yeah, you can't. No inside edges given whatsoever, because once that threshold has been passed, it's over. Right? There's like it may be a few moments where it's like I can kind of do it, but no, you can't let them win at anything. They're gonna have to earn it. Once they earn it, that's fine. I'll fade quietly away. But until that point, Dad's got to maintain. Like I will be. Was it Billy Madison? He's playing basketball against those kids on the playground. Yeah, you got to Billy Madison that thing, and that's right. He's playing dodgeball.
It's like when mascots play against
those kids have
right?
no shot. Yeah,
like Kevin, when mascots play against kids, they dominate those. Obviously, we know there are adults in those mascot uniforms. They dominate those kids. And BJ, what you say? What are they doing? They're children. That's right. And a child will stay in a child's place. They know what's up.
It's building character. That's what it does. Is what it does. Also supports the old ego a little bit as well. That's Take 3. We do it every day. This time more to come. 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad to have you along on this Monday. So much to get to. We'll hear from Jalen Camp in the final hour of the program, as former Georgia Tech wide receiver was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk about his trek to the draft and how he's looking forward to the upcoming camps and such with Jacksonville. But we talked about this late last week, the name, image, and likeness law that was passed by or signed into law by Brian Kemp. Late that last week, Georgia and Georgia Tech both came out and said, look, we're putting things in place, but we're not going to go by the provision that allows schools to hold up to 74.99% of a student athlete's profits in a name, image, likeness pool that could then be used throughout the athletic department for other athletes. Georgia Southern coming out today saying they are in the same boat with Georgia and Georgia Tech. They are not going to be doing that. So, again, I don't think any school will come out in Georgia and do that. But should they do something we kind of got into a little bit last week, BJ and Ben want to bring it back up here as well, because obviously name, image, likeness, a lot of folks have a lot of strong opinions about that, which way it goes, how much folks could potentially make doing this, who get benefits from it, and more. But right off the bat, would you be in favor of schools doing it, period, in terms of some kind of name, image, likeness pool money that's put out there?
I hope so. I mean, because the whole thing about it is, we want this stuff in college athletics to be individual so bad. Yes, I understand they're trying to make this about the individual, but once again, Kevin, something you adopted. It's half me and half where I am. It's half what I've done to garner the attention to get to this point, and the other half is the platform that I have. So if I have to, I don't know, do something for the greater good of my, student athletes, my brethren, and my fellow brethren and sisters, around what we do, then so be it. I mean, that's what's going to make it really work. Because, and now when you say the number, this is why. The more money I can give to my brethren, because this is what they're going to say, okay, either give it to your other student athletes or give it to the school. Not doing it. I don't want to give the school a dime. I'm sorry. I'm giving the school.
Well, I mean, I think in this case, the money to the school would be, I say give it to the school, be put in a pool to give to other student athletes.
Absolutely.
So I don't think the school per se is like, hey, we're going to take it and just keep it. I think allegedly would be taken and given to other student athletes.
Yes, which I think is the right thing to do, because we get so caught up in the football team is always going to get the most fanfare because of the numbers, because of the stadium size, because of the attention, the notoriety, the limelight, what may have you. But if I'm in college and they say, hey, Ben, you're going to benefit from your name and image likeness. You're going to have to give 5% to your representation and 10% to the student athlete. Fine. I mean, I'm not the great. We're not allowed to spell on this show, and I know we're not allowed to do math, but I do know that 15. 100 minus 15 is 85. I can live with 85%. Matter of fact, I can live with 80%, because that means that I'm benefiting from my name and image likeness. Newsflash: everybody is not going to get money from their name and image likeness. But if everybody's benefiting from, like if Trevor Lawrence was at Clemson, right now, and he was getting all the money for his name and image likeness, he got to give up 15% of it, 20% of it, and he's still going to go pro. I think that's an even trade, because we forget, and BJ, I defer to you with this. Your wife plays softball. The only difference in her schedule and my schedule was nothing. There wasn't a difference. My day began when everybody else ended. Her day began when everybody else ended. The difference is she was under a different level of scrutiny than me academically. I guarantee it. Because when you start talking about softball and women's sports, they get known for not just what they do, athletically. What was our team GPA? You know what they'll talk about team GPA in the football? One word, one delict. Just leave that stuff alone. We are good athletes. But BJ, when you think about the fact that college is looking real good right now. Everybody's signing bills, and we're going to do it. We're going to see when it comes into effect. But I do think doing it for your fellow student athletes is the right thing to do, because it's keeping you in a team mentality.
Yeah, and I appreciate your perspective on it, and I'd like to get some perspective from student athletes on it. There are so many questions that we don't have answers to yet, right? In terms of how this is going to play out. I mean, we've talked about it from a legal or political standpoint, right? Like, what are the governors going to do? How's kind of the taxation going to work? What are the schools going to do? who's going to be the agency of record or whatever. How's that going to work? In terms of all this, I think it would be very meaningful and very important to get some reaction from student athletes, right? And kind of find out what their thinking is, what their perspective is. Could this be something where potentially there's some sort of student athlete panel that kind of works in conjunction and helps process and apply decision making, helps kind of figure out what the best route to go is, helps figure out, like you said, Ben, let's make sure if we do this, if it is a possibility, that this is not a school thing. The school is kind of redistributing the money amongst student athletes. I've said potentially, and I don't know if this is practical or something that we're going to see in the next couple of years, but to me, it feels like at some point you're going to see a stipend, a regular stipend for student athletes, whether that's, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and maybe I'm wrong. But to me, I think it kind of feels like the name, image, likeness is a step towards kind of a complete overhaul of amateurism. And if we get to the point in, who knows, X number of years where there's a stipend that every student athlete gets, maybe that's something where you have multiple streams of revenue, from the school, from the programs, potentially from marketing, where varying levels, small levels of revenue is taken and kind of put into a collective pool. I don't know, but I think they are conversations worth having, and I think it is very important to get the perspective of the people we're having the conversation about. Let's hear from the student athletes. Let's see what their primary objectives are, goals are. Because, right, I mean, wasn't some of this when this initially came out like, oh, the school's going to take 50% of it and put it in a fund you can't access for X number of years or until you reach this threshold, this milestone, whatever it is. I think it's important to get the perspective of the student athletes as we talk about how this is going to play itself out.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you guys' thoughts on it. And again, I do think that we've heard schools say, hey, we'll put your money, we'll take it, we'll hold it, you graduate, you get it. Kind of like a pseudo trust, I guess, if you will, in terms of the money. But as far as, given, again, I think you're walking down the slope that brought us here. If you kind of enact some of this stuff, the 74%, okay, we're not going to do that. 10%, whatever it may be. If you take from name, image, likeness, why are we doing name, image, likeness in the first place? Right? Why are we doing name, image, likeness in the first place? The fundamental argument is they are making money off us, and we don't. Right? So now we're going to turn around and say I'm making money off myself, and I have to give it to somebody else. That's like the opposite of why you do name, image, likeness. So to me, I think the fact that was even in there is a little bit ludicrous. Quite honestly, I mean, I think. I get the school wants to safeguard the money, but teach financial literacy if you want to help them safeguard their money. I mean, that's to me. But again, and this is why we fall into the reality of name, image, likeness in 2021 is Trevor Lawrence going to have more opportunity? Yeah, he's also the most visible college athlete potentially last year in college football. Justin Fields would be another one. However, social media, case in point, Christian did this. One of the most followed athletes in college right now, Paige Becker, plays women's basketball at UConn. 830,000 followers on Instagram. I'm sorry. If she can get a great deal off that, do it. She owes anybody else nothing. She owes the UConn football baseball team zilch in terms of what she was able to earn on her own. It's name, image, likeness, not my name, image, likeness for everybody else. No, it's my name, my image, my likeness, my cash. That's the way I see it at the end of the day. I get we want to be for the greater good. But again, when you're selling your name, your image, your likeness, it ain't always in the name of altruism. It is, the whole reason we're doing this is so college students can go out and use themselves to promote products, items, things to then make money for themselves. I think the whole concept of up to 75% written in the law was ridiculous to start with. Should there be safeguards so the process doesn't get abused? Yes. But to me, I don't think you need to set up a fund to spread, because in 2021, there's a lot of equal potential online opportunity for folks to market themselves, whether you play softball, tennis. Again, this all started from a dude that was backup kicker at Central Florida, rolling bank on YouTube. nobody even knew who he was if you didn't follow his YouTube channel. So I think there's unlimited possibilities if you have an idea and can use yourself to promote yourself, other products, what have you. So I think it'll be very interesting to see where it goes and what the schools try to push through. But yeah, I'm not a fan of you are required to get rid of this much money to the school for a fund. Why?
I mean,
that's just me.
I mean, you're not wrong in what you're saying, but I look at it like this. If all of us are benefiting from our name and image likeness, you don't got to put it in the pool because we all get money. But that's not.
But everyone has the opportunity to benefit from their name, image, likeness.
But what I'm saying is this. It's like this. I mean, I use Deion Sanders' analogy when it comes to getting paid in the NFL. You don't want people to get mad. Why you giving people different size checks, right? That's why people really are disgruntled. When you talk about college athletics, it is not fair across the board. We all at the same school. We don't all got the same level of visibility. I go to a bowl game. Everybody go to a bowl game, get the same thing. We all getting them stipends. We all getting, that's why the higher the bowl game, the more money you get. Do all of us contribute to this team? No. But do we all want our money? Absolutely. And I'm just saying, I'm telling you.
But I look at that, Ben, as different because you are rewarding the team for going to a bowl game, and the bowl game is saying, here, this is for the team. And okay, if you want to compensate a team, okay, that's fine. I just think if player A is going out and it's like, hey, I'm getting $1,000 an autograph session to go sit out and take my time to do it, I don't think they should be obligated in any way, shape, or form to give any of that back to a player fund. Why? Because again, nobody else contributed to that other than themselves. I mean, I understand the position you're in, but I'm saying as far as a pro athlete wouldn't go out and do an autograph session and say, Tennessee Titans, I'm going to give you, 15% of this just because to help out other guys on the team. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think a bowl game scenario to me is a little bit different.
All I'm saying is, I mean, I'm just looking at it from a totality standpoint, and it's just not created equal. It's not the same visibility across the board. And now, if we're doing the thing we're talking about, me and BJ, I was talking about, to where everybody's getting, the free cell phone, everybody's getting a gift card to go to their favorite, the apparel company, maybe the whoever, if you go into a certain supermarket, that's different. But I'm telling you, if you're not giving anything away, the school will try to intervene. I just rather you give it to the players than the school, because the school is thinking right now, wait a minute, like you just said, let it go to UConn.
But under this, if we remember some of the legislation, you cannot do name, image, likeness and say, I'm player A, I play at the University of Georgia. You're just, I'm guy A. And that's it. Now, if you're doing some kind of media push, you may wear a red and black shirt, but it won't say Georgia on it. And, it'll be kind of like back in the day. It's like, hey, this is point guard number 12, wink, wink, like that. But from what I understand, you cannot go out there and say, hey, I am so-and-so from the University of Georgia or Georgia Tech or Georgia Southern, Texas, wherever, and promote a product in that manner. It has to be your name, and that's it.
And I wonder if potentially that changes in the future, right? Because this whole thing is one where we're all trying to figure it out, right? I mean, this has gone from concept to possibility to law, essentially, in a relatively short period of time. And I think a lot of people on all sides are still trying to figure out the best way to do this. I mean, to that point, Kevin, do you think and I mean, this is getting big picture, getting further away, but do you think, because you guys are right, obviously the school is not getting anything off of this. Do you think if we reach a point where the quarterback for Georgia is allowed to do a commercial wearing a Georgia shirt and says, I'm Georgia quarterback so-and-so, that would then open the door for a whole nother conversation?
Well, that is potentially different. Yes. I mean, because now you are a person representing another institution on top of that. So, I think that's a whole nother conversation. But I do think that's an interesting part of it, because I think that it will be interesting to see what the NCAA says on top of this, because I can't imagine recruiting and, especially if you're going after a star potential athlete or even somebody who has a large social media following coming to you from high school to say, hey, if you come to school X, we're going to let you be, but if you go to school Y, they're going to take 20% off the top, just because. that gets into all kind of weird situations there as well. So I think whatever it is, you're going to have to mandate it. Like, hey, look, just we're not doing it, or however you want to word it. But I think if the whole point is to let athletes make money off of themselves, you need to let athletes make money off of themselves and not require them to give any of it to a fund. Or again, if they want to, that's different. But I don't think you should mandate that. You could just off the top, yeah, we're just going to take it. It's 20% because that's what we're going to do. So we'll see what happens with that as they move forward. We got to step aside. We could go on for hours about this, but certainly that law passed by Brian Kemp last week. And we'll see what the NCAA says after Georgia, just the latest state, and a handful of them who have already got stuff set to go into effect first part of July. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network here on 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. At Pigskin Radio. Again, we're streaming live, ESPNcoastal.com, and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And again, it's good to see as things open back up, fans back at events. Braves had 3 just huge crowds this weekend. And BJ, Ben, the question kind of thrown out there as we do this, has this shown us that people still have a appetite for live events? I mean, I know the Braves said, hey, it was going to be 100%. And some people were like, maybe it's too soon for that. But 40,000, I think 39,000 last night. Do you think still people love just getting out and going to live events?
Well, I think people have always loved live sports, right? There's kind of an atmosphere and an energy that you can't replicate. And especially when you think about big games, right? I mean, we've all been fortunate. I mean, Ben, you played in them. We've all been fortunate enough to go to kind of the big spotlight game and just walk around and kind of feel the energy, the atmosphere. And yeah, I think there's a perspective right now where people are like, I haven't been able to do this in a long time. And maybe I took it for granted a little bit, or maybe I didn't, fully appreciate, how much I enjoy this. And I think there's a real kind of energy and appreciation on even the possibility of going to a live event and kind of enjoying the full benefits of something like that. And especially given, the circumstances that have been at play, I think people look at that as something that kind of validates some semblance of a return to normalcy and maybe gives some people some hope in some capacities. And you want to do, obviously, what's safe moving forward. But I do wonder if, let's say, because prior to a lot of the COVID, this was a talking point in sports about, hey, are you going to lose the desire for a family of 4 to go to a sporting event if it takes 4 or 5 hours and costs $400 or $500, and for that price, for essentially the price of maybe taking one family of 4 to a game, once you factor everything in, you can get, I mean, I don't know exactly, but you can get something pretty nice, I think, from the standpoint of a modern, technologically advanced TV with the great picture and all that stuff. I don't necessarily think those, if you want to call them problems, are going away. I still think moving forward, when it comes to kind of live sports, you will look at it as kind of a cost analysis. Can I justify this cost? I mean, pro sports, college sports at the highest level can get expensive pretty quick. And I mean, Kevin, I know I've heard you say, and this is going back, before COVID, obviously, where you've said, hey, yeah, I love going to games, but I also love being able to, look at my television and go to 3, 4, 5 different games and kind of have that appeal. When will that become more of an issue? I don't know. I think everybody's just so grateful for whatever opportunities we have right now that you're, taking advantage of those and are really thinking about how cool it is to, be around other people and experience things. But, big picture, do I still think, some of the kind of internal conversations that people have will still center around, is it worth going to this game? How much does it cost? What can I get? What technological experience can I get at home? Yeah, I think some of that will still be at play. Yeah.
I think I definitely think so. I think this when you start talking about the fact that if you're talking to somebody about a live event and they say the 3 words that most people never get to say, I was there. Cause you're like, what? It just makes it better. And BJ, it's like you said. I mean, yeah, we had the Cure Bowl. There go Steve Spurrier. Like we were there. There go the Hill Topper for you and things of that nature. And when you really think about it, I mean, it kind of makes the bucket list of going to live events a lot more, like heightened, because you start saying to yourself, okay, Kevin, obviously your family loves the Braves. Well, it's one thing to see Ronald Acuna right there. And, and the likelihood of you getting a good ticket now is very likely because they're trying to fill up these stadiums. So a seat that probably used to be a lot more money is probably going to be a little bit more affordable because they want you to enjoy this experience. It's like they're rolling out the red carpet. And BJ, I mean, there's nothing like a live event. I mean, you could deal with anything. I mean, if you're watching torrential downpours on the TV, you're like, we were there though. Like what? Like we were there and they had to, like, move us out. We came back in. I think it adds to the prestige of, like I said, full disclosure, BJ is a Florida State fan. Yeah. We could barely get in Tallahassee. He go, you see it, don't you? There it is, the biggest brick. It's something to say when you're there. So And yes, we were spoiled because no one saw a pandemic coming and us being essentially in our homes for a year. So now it's, hey man, what you probably would said no to before with a live event is like, you're going to sacrifice anything you spend on any money you spend outside of your necessity is a sacrifice. I don't care what it is. Well, now I might spend and go to that live event because, I might, I understand that I'm not, hoping there's no more pandemics coming, but it's something to say to be there and, be there in person and to share it with your family and to see, there go the person you grew up, idolizing, or that's your favorite player or your favorite venue or your favorite team. So I do think last year was done. I guarantee you there are people in Atlanta who are going to see the Braves play that never even thought about going to the Truist Park, or there are people, dare I say, this year going to see the Falcons play that had no, inkling of going. But yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. I mean, sport brings us together in a way that not too many things can, and it's a chance for us to put, all these petty differences in life aside, and it's a chance to just be around each other. And let's face it, man, you get opposing fans in the same venue that you didn't, God forbid you walk up in somewhere, BJ, and a person you thought you knew and trusted had on a Florida jersey. You like, it's betrayal when you thought you knew him. I think it's great. I think it's great. And I think it gives us a chance to like create some new memories. I mean, because I will say that Monday Night Football, that camera that they got now, it makes your TV look better than what it is. But I think that's more the camera. We all want a big, nice 75-inch TV. But BJ, once again, I'm just going to go back to we go to see the Rams play the Falcons. And BJ just sitting there all of a sudden, what's up, baby? It's prime time. We look up and there he is. That's not even a big screen. It's like a little circle. I don't know what that is, but it's something to say when you're there live, and 2020 definitely put a new meaning to it because, I mean, it makes you, stop, taking those things for granted, especially if you are indeed in a position to do that stuff.
Yeah, I think, again, the live events, again, I think Ben touched on it there. The I was there factor is still very hard. That's one thing that technology hadn't been able to replace. But, I mean, you had close to, 120,000 people watch the Braves this weekend. You had, what did Roger Goodell say? You had, 200-something thousand people at the draft?
Yes.
There in Cleveland. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think the one that is people want to get out, but I think the spectacle of sports is nothing can replicate being there in person when something happens like that. So I think live events, live sports are here to stay, especially the big ones. The things like the Kentucky Derbies, the Masters, those people will continue to flock to those because they are the kind of marquee events out there as well. I don't know if you can say the same. We were talking about this, the other experience that was taken away is like going to the movies, but I think that's a little different as opposed to the live event where I think movies now it's like, you want to go where the speakers are rattling and stuff's getting blown up. Outside of that, it's like, well, I can catch it on something else. Can't do that with sports. I mean, that's one thing I've tried to do, BJ and Ben. It's like, I missed it. I'll catch it on, I recorded it or whatever. It's like, it ain't the same. It just is just not the same as being able to go out there and hear the sounds, smell the smells, see what's going on. And certainly sports are better when there's a full house involved. I will tell you, that was the best sounding Braves games we've heard in a long time here in a full capacity the last 3 nights there in Atlanta.
Well, I mean, it's something else too. I mean, BJ, another one of our favorite actors, Chris Tucker. They was playing his Don't Stop Till You Get, and he was at the game and he was up dancing. Look, I would say this. Most people don't have the opportunity to go to live events, whereas they can't afford it, the location, the time, the time restraints. I don't want us to take advantage of these. When I got into media, I did not know it came with press credentials, and I did not know. He's like, yeah, we going to the game. What? I didn't know it came with tickets and parking and food and field access. I think 2020 made you rekindle that stuff. Like, don't get used to I got to go to the game. No, I get to go to the game because, like I said, I didn't know BJ Bennett had a thing for mascots. Forget Steve Spurrier. Forget Steve Spurrier Jr. There's the Hilltopper. Hey, go ask him, can I take a picture with him? Who? His security. And then we go on Wikipedia. He's under investigation. That's a total different show for a different day. But yeah, if you have a chance to go to a live event, because you never know what it's going to do for you. Now, BJ, Kevin said he can't wait to see Atlanta United. We haven't had a chance to get to a live event. 2020 messed that up. But I mean, Kevin said he want to leave that. I believe that we will win chant just to get the juices flowing.
Yeah, it's a great atmosphere, Kevin. Yeah, Ben, work on it. Set it up. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, we've got much more to come. On that note, we'll get back to that. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us here on this Monday. We'll hear from Jalen Camp coming up in the final hour of the program. Ben, as the former Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket wide receiver drafted by the Jags. We'll talk about his trek there. And, of course, Tim Tebow, now a Jacksonville Jaguar, at least for now, is going to get a tryout, I guess, to try to make it as a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, this big news. And the thing is, you kind of knew, I mean, it kind of started last week, thank God, when it first hit. Aaron Rodgers was saying he don't want to play for Green Bay no more, or Kevin, because we, they kind of like superseded that his announcement that day. But look, I'm not mad at Tim Tebow. I mean, I know you're gonna have those people that say, is Tim Tebow good enough to play the tight end position? Do he deserve an opportunity? And I would say, to the first statement, I don't know. And to the second statement, absolutely, he deserves a shot. I mean, he hasn't done anything but stay in shape, have a great relationship with Urban Meyer. I mean, the same way head coaches become assistant coaches and be on all these different staffs, because look, it's a buddy system. It's a good old boy system, and I'm not mad at that fact. But what I am saying is this: don't downplay my position that I played. Don't think that anybody could do it. No, anybody can't do it. Now, if there was ever a team that needed a tight end, it's definitely the Jacksonville Jaguars when you look at them as being bottom feeders the last, dare I say, 5 years in the league. But that don't mean Tim Tebow is going to be the savior, because, Kevin, something you said in the show meeting, Tim Tebow comes with a lot of baggage, like a lot of fanfare, and good or bad, right, wrong, and different. We'll see. But once again, Trevor comes with hype, but Tebow comes with a train of people behind him. I'm rooting for him. But Kevin, just like anything else, I hope, that if I mean, I don't know what Rocky it is. Maybe it was Rocky Part 20 when he had his last fight. Hopefully, when he says it's over, like, okay, Tim, if this doesn't work, this is it. It's not like you're gonna lose. Tim Tebow's the only guy that never loses his job, his real job, and he's still gonna do great things. But I hope he does well.
And we'll talk to Jalen Camp coming up in about 20 minutes. Former Georgia Tech wide receiver, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look at the Braves off tonight. We're playing some hot baseball going into tomorrow night's series with the Toronto Blue Jays. It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNcoastal.com, on your mobile device with the ESPN app. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. Braves off tonight, but wow, what a series against the Philadelphia Phillies in division, no less. Big comeback on Saturday night. We said earlier in the show, maybe Saturday night is one of those things you look back on and say, wow, that was the spark that spurred this team off into another direction. Coming back not once, not twice, but 3 times and winning a ball game. Then you have last night, you give up the first pitch of the ball game, the home run. You come back and win it 6-1. You know, Tyler Matzik with some wizardry out there. I don't know if y'all saw that play he made last night, but unbelievable. And we'll see if this is a spark for the Braves, knowing that Chris Martin's set to come back starting tomorrow. You just signed Shane Green to a deal. Maybe Tyler Flowers in the not too distant future for some help behind the dish. And this team might be in a lot better shape here in the next couple of weeks, first part of June.
It was an amazing response because, Kevin, you go back to Saturday night, let's say, a couple of at-bats into the 9th inning right before Sandoval's home run. You're looking around going, man, we lost on Friday night in considerable fashion. We're about to lose this game, and you're talking about falling further behind Philadelphia in the standings, in addition to the Mets, who have been playing good, falling, below 500 by another game or two. And then who knows how we'll respond to a red hot team on Sunday with Aaron Nola on the mound for the Phillies. That home run by Kung Fu Panda was absolutely spectacular. And he has been so clutch all year, but to come up with that against that team in that moment was exactly what the Braves needed. And, normally when you watch a game, you kind of get a sense for what's going to happen. Like, okay. And when the Phillies went up 7-4, especially after the back and forth, I think in the 11th inning, I thought, okay, the Braves have been resilient. They've bounced back, but you're not going to score 4 runs in the bottom half of an inning. You have 4 runs all game. You're not going to all of a sudden get 4 runs. And then, here's a walk, here's a hit. It starts to fall into place. And for the Braves to win that game, that was so galvanizing. That was so affirming in terms of what this team can do, what it can be. Wilson Contreras with the game winner, he's been great. You talk about, again, Sandoval with the big home run. You think about good at-bats from Dansby and Austin Riley and Marcelo Zuna, and you're looking around and it's starting to come together. And what could have been, had you kind of gone with what was expected Saturday night and lost, who knows how you would have bounced back on Sunday. Who knows where you would be now? And you got a tough, Toronto team coming to town. And then this time, 2 weeks or next week, you're talking about the Mets coming to town. So you need some momentum. You need some traction. You need some energy. And you got it. And I agree with what Ben Ingram said earlier in the show. That was one of the wildest, craziest wins on Saturday night I've ever seen. And to couple that, Ben, with a really maybe your most complete performance of the year, given who you were facing on Sunday. Braves have a lot of momentum right now, and I agree. What happened Saturday and then into Sunday can send this team on a couple of week stretch of really good play.
Yeah, a lot of ebbs and flows in this season. This Braves take you on a roller coaster ride. Being down 3-1 in the 9th, down 4-3 in the 11th, down 7-4 in the 12th, and you still find a way to win the game. It shows this is a very, very resilient bunch. You getting firepower from a guy in Pablo Sandoval, a guy who was a late addition, and you look at what he's been able to do. Yes, I like the fact that too, Freddie Freeman hasn't been himself. Wasn't himself as of late until this weekend. When you look at what he's been able to do, you find ways to get it done with not usual suspects. You get a lot of guys back. Injuries have hurt this Braves team. When you look at Max Fried coming back, you look at they're still waiting on Mike Soroka to get off the DL. But I will say that the fact that they finding a way to get it done. No one says how you win. They just care about that you get to win. And this NL East is going to be very, very tough. Nobody's running away with the division right now, but I do think this Braves team, the one thing that is not being talked about enough is I am tired of Ronald Acuna Jr. getting hit. I really, really am. I thought this was a problem. I thought the only team that was even allowed to throw at him was the Marlins. It seems to be everybody trying to get in the act, and then he's getting hit, in his left hand and things of that nature. Ronald Acuna Jr. is 10 home runs, 6 stolen bases. They got him on a 40-40 watch every single time, now throughout the course of the season. But I like the way this Braves team is coming together. I like the fact that different guys are stepping up. I like the fact, too, that Freddie Freeman is a guy who don't have to play well for them to still get quality wins. Ian Anderson, Luke Jackson and those guys. I mean, you got different young guys stepping up. I mean, Christian Pache, he still got a ways to go offensively, but defensively, he's as good as advertised. I just like the fact that with so many storylines, this Braves team is still in it. And BJ, I want you to keep that same level, of just apprehension. Like I don't know, like they won it, but they irked it out, but they did get the win. And like I said, I mean, I always take my approach from Kevin. Kevin comes in on Monday, go, look, they're fine. I mean, it's not pretty. The Braves take you through more in one game than certain teams take in the season. I mean, somebody go here. They was down 3-1 in the 9th, down 4-3 in the 11th, down 7-4 in the 12th, and tied 7-7 and 1. Like that's one game, and that's what they're capable of doing. But I think you'll take it. I think Snit don't get a lot of credit for just being able to manage this team. You got a lot of young guys. You got a lot. I mean, Christian Pache has to step up. On a team that doesn't really, that has guys like Ronald Acuna, Marcell Ozuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman. But PJ, I mean, a win is a win. You'll take it. That's the hardest thing in pro sports is to win and win consistently. The Braves are finding a way to get back to their winning ways. Hopefully, Kevin, they'll get used to this side of things and kind of start putting a little – because listen, no one said you can start – when you got to start putting, a little gap between you and the rest of the division. I don't know. Everybody must have sent a memo and said we're going to keep this thing close till after the All-Star break.
Well, I mean, that's the way it's going to play out, I think, in the division. It's so close. But we talked about this earlier with Ben Ingram. I think while you have been playing well as of late, you do have some questions out there, right? I mean, Christian Pache is hitting 107. His on-base percentage, again, this is how much he's getting on base is 153. That's awful, obviously. Does the defense, in your estimation, outweigh the complete and total lack of offensive production at this point?
I mean, Ben, you can speak to this, and Kevin, I've heard you say it time and time again, and I don't know that we ever saw anything with
BJ, like before you finish. I mean, statistically, I know you're a big just let the DH hit. Statistically, you are better having Max Fried, Charlie Morton, et cetera, hit as opposed to Christian Pache. Statistically, you'd rather the pitcher hit right now.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of go back to the point. I think you and I have largely agreed, right, when we've talked about Austin Riley or whoever the young player is, to, hey, just kind of let it ride. I mean, you're going to have ups and downs. If you're going to overreact every time someone hits 200, well, Freddie Freeman's been at 200. Marcell Ozuna's been at 200. Ozzie Albies has been at 200. Dansby Swanson's been at 200. But Christian's really struggling offensively. Now, defensively, he's elite. He's going to be a really good player in the pros. I'm kind of split because a part of me thinks it's, hey, you look at him and say, you got to swing your way out of it, right? Like the only way to get out of a slump is to keep playing. And Kevin, you've mentioned this. I mean, if he has a couple of nights where he goes 2 for 4, all of a sudden this looks a whole lot better. And it's still not great, but it's not the statistical outlier that you point to and go, oh man, this is really, really bad. But how do you manage the confidence of an athlete when clearly it's not going their way, one aspect of their game? In this case, Pache at the plate. A part of me thinks you still just go with him because he's giving you elite defense. He's batting last, before the pitcher in the order. So it's not like the responsibilities are overwhelming in terms of, hey man, you got to get a couple of RBI a night. Now, does that mean he plays every single day? No, because I think you have options there. But in terms of sending him down, that would make me a little nervous just because of potentially kind of the impact that could have. But I do think, hey, give him a day here, rotate guys in. But and Kevin, I don't know if Ben, your thoughts as well. My gut tells me don't send him down to AAA just yet.
I mean, the thing is, you ask BJ, how do you manage the confidence of a player when he's in a slump? You don't. He does that. Like I think too often at times we put things on. I heard Deion Sanders interviewing Ray Lewis one time, and Deion Sanders asked Ray Lewis a question about the coaches, and he said, "I would never ever blame a coach for something the player controls." Christian Pache controls his confidence. That is on him, and if he gets called down, it happens, right? It's showing that it means you ain't getting it done, man. Like you're not getting it done. Now, he's gonna have to manage that. Because this is the thing. If you play any position in baseball other than pitcher, if you can't handle being called down, I question you as an athlete. Pitchers get called down all the time, and they go down, get it together, come back. But to be able to, and Kevin, you can speak to be able to be an everyday player, a consistent player in baseball at a skill position, not named pitcher, shows that you are getting it done. Because you have to be playing awful to get called down. Like, think about that. Like, they're going to give you a chance to play out of this slump. But Christian is a young player, and he needs to know. Look, Ronald Acuna Jr. got benched for not running out of a fly out. I mean, he got benched. Now he didn't get called down, but he did get benched. So Christian needs to know that. Look, while you're good enough, you still got to prove it day in and day out. So if he does get called down, BJ, I don't think it should kill his confidence. But if it does kill his confidence, it's gonna say more about him. Because last time I checked, that's baseball. It's the only sport. I mean. Football, there is no call down. Yeah. If they tell you, see you later, bring your playbook, that's it. But he's gonna have to play better, regardless of his defense.
And again, I think all of us were of the mindset like, hey, Gold Glove defense, we don't need you to do much offensively, but you got to do more than that, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. And again, they know. I mean, he's a baseball player. He knows, like, hey, man, I haven't got a hit, and seems like forever. But BJ, I think when we evaluate players, like, look, you don't need that much offense. You're thinking like, okay, 220 on the bad side, like 220, 215, like he's just struggling. It is what it is. But this is 107. Like, you're getting close to Alex Jackson 043 territory here in the not too distant future. And I said it when William Contreras got called up. I said, I don't think Alex Jackson's getting his spot back. And I still don't think that. I mean, Contreras is hitting a little better than that. Good defensively, got some upside. Alex Jackson, I mean, great. You're a good defensive catcher, but you're hitting 043. That they could put me and you out there, and we might be able to dunk one at some point to get 043. I mean, so I just look at the Braves, and you got a couple of situations there where are you willing to ride basically a rookie at catcher, catching this staff every day, and are you willing to push down, or send down a Gold Glove caliber outfielder because he's not even hitting half his body weight?
Yeah, I think needless to say, it's an important stretch coming up for Pache, needless to say. And, it'd be one of those things where you'd like to see him even just get a bloop hit, right? And see if that could kind of turn his confidence and make him a little more aggressive, and then one hit turn into two or three, turn into a good week. I mean, baseball's that way sometimes. I agree. I mean, the batting average is very concerning. And Kevin, I don't know how viable this is. And again, you got to look at the health of Inciarte. You got to look at the health of Heredia. But Pache's batting a little better against left-handers. I think he's at 200 on the year against left-handers. I mean, just to try to put him in a position to be successful, because you see a situation where maybe you play him against left-handed pitchers and you go with Inciarte or Heredia against right-handed pitching. Heredia's been a really good player, really productive. Or, I mean, do you think, again, it's certainly not unheard of, even for high-profile guys, to get sit back down. Do you think that might be the best option?
Probably, because, again, I think for a supposed elite player, which Christian Pache is, he's supposed to be an everyday guy. That's the trajectory he's on. I think you just be honest, and Ben knows this, like, look, we know where you can be, but the fact is you cannot be a major league player hitting 107. The end. Like, that's you can't, even if you're playing great on defense. If you're a quarterback, it's like, hey, I can hand the ball off with the best of them. I'm an elite, and I'm hitting 30% of my passes. Well, guess what? You're not a quarterback right now. Maybe you can be, but you're not right now. So I think for Christian Pache, you got a little bit of time. I think you heard Ben say, maybe when you get Heredia back from injury, that might be a great time to do it. But obviously the dude knows he's hitting 107. It's in big letters up there in the outfield every time he comes up to bat. You hope he gets it turned around and can avoid that. But again, if you go another week with this, he very well might be batting a bingo batting average. Nobody wants to bat bingo. 87. That's you don't want to hear that. So I think he's got maybe a week or so of this to go. And it's like, look, we appreciate your defense, but you're giving us absolutely nothing offensively, and you just can't have that, especially on a team that's trying to contend. So Braves with the night off tonight. They'll be back tomorrow. Big series with the Toronto Blue Jays. Max Fried back on the mound. Should have Chris Martin back available in the bullpen as well. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. When we return, Jalen Camp, 6th-round pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars out of Georgia Tech. We'll talk to him next here on 3 and Out. Glad you are with us here as we are joined by a young man who was drafted in the 6th round out of Georgia Tech by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wide receiver Jalen Camp joins us here on 3 and Out. Jalen, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on, and I know a lot of work put in leading up to the draft. Describe that moment. 6th round, there during the draft, you get the phone call headed to Jacksonville.
Oh, it's definitely relieving. Saturday is the last day of the draft, day 3. So we sat day 1, sat day 2, and then towards the end of day 3, we were still sitting, and once we got that call, and I think it was the GM was like, "How would you like to be a Jacksonville Jaguar?" It was just a surreal moment, and definitely exciting for me and my family.
And I know you've put in so much work to get to where you are. We chatted with you a couple of weeks before the draft, and you were talking about the process. Was the weekend one where you kind of felt all that, or did you try to just step away from it all and let it play itself out? What was the weekend like for you as you waited to get that call?
Yes, sir. Just going into the weekend, I think in my family we got a hotel on Friday. And we just wanted to enjoy the moment, regardless of what happened, whether that was, me being undrafted or me being drafted. We just knew that, at the end of this weekend, hopefully we would get some good news. So we went into the weekend with an open mind, excited about the situation, and just blessed to be in the situation, to be considered in the draft. So we just went in, kind of enjoyed ourselves throughout the weekend. But, Saturday was a whole different monster, just because we knew that today was supposed to be the day. So it was a lot of nerves, a lot of stress going into it. I think there was multiple times where, I couldn't even be by a TV at the time, with the draft on, just because of the nerves that was built into it. So I think we caught ourselves by the pool, once I got the call, just kind of not worrying about football, just kind of letting everything, play itself out. And, it did.
And Jalen, when you look at the fact that obviously when you first get to college, everybody, no matter where you play, you have dreams and aspirations of going to the next level. 59 guys heard their name called, but most guys that got their name called aren't looked to be key contributors with their draft class. Your entire draft class is going to be looked upon to be key contributors this year. And y'all going to have one of the youngest teams in the NFL. It's got to feel good to know that not only does Urban Meyer and Jacksonville see your potential, they think you can go out there and help day one.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think that, we're all planning on coming in and contributing in any kind of way day one. It is definitely exciting to know that you have the potential to contribute day one. But I think it just falls on each player individually. Going in to rookie minicamp, making sure you got the plays down so you'll be able to go out there and play fast. And just kind of help the team, whether that's special teams, whether that's offense, whatever the case may be, just kind of trying to make your footprint on the team and show that you add value.
Jalen Camp joining us here on 3 and Out, and you talk about that trek to the draft. You had an interesting kind of college career there, Jalen. You come in under Paul Johnson, finish under Jeff Collins. 2020, of course, season with coronavirus. You kind of went through a little bit of everything from offensive styles to obviously the pandemic we were all dealing with. Kind of describe that college experience and kind of seeing all sides of it, from mainly a blocking receiver to a different style offense there on the back end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a unique experience. Just going into Georgia Tech my freshman year, we kind of knew, what kind of system they had in place with the triple option. But, me and my family kind of weighed both sides, the on-field, the off-field, off the field is such a prestigious institution that can help you life after football. And then on the field, I think, 2 years before I got there, I think Darren Waller and DeAndre Smith both got drafted through that offense. So, we knew it was possible. We knew it was going to be, it would be difficult, but we knew it was definitely possible. So, I went hard, the triple option those 3 years with Coach Johnson. And he helped me elevate my game in terms of, making plays downfield, being a playmaker, and being a physical blocker out there on the edge. So, those two aspects of that offense have definitely helped me transition into where I am right now. And then the last 2 years with Coach Collins, spreading it out and being able to show my talents out there on the wide, in the spread offense, I believe helped me a lot as well. And I'm very thankful for both of the coaches, because I think that they played humongous, roles in my development.
You obviously competed against guys like Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and Tyson Campbell in college at Georgia Tech, some of your new teammates. Do you know any of those guys at all? And what's it going to be like teaming up with some other big-time prospects like that there in Jacksonville?
Oh, yes, sir. I mean, I played against Trevor, 5 years. I think I played against Tyson maybe 4 years or whatever. But, just being able to be on the other side of Trevor Lawrence, just seeing him, the way he leads Clemson, the type of quarterback that he is definitely somebody you want on your side. And I can truthfully say that he's on my side now. And I just think it's going to be awesome. It's almost like our draft class. Every draft class is almost like a college all-star team, so to speak. So, it'll definitely be fun to come in and try to earn our stripes at the next level.
And Jalen, you mentioned, seeing guys like Darren Waller go on to the next level. You see how successful he is in that offense with the Las Vegas Raiders. You say, you definitely had an opportunity to go to other schools. You still chose to go to Georgia Tech without even knowing that Jeff Collins was coming. What does that competitive nature come from? Because most guys, they want to go to a place where you're going to be utilized from what you do athletically. You was the guy that said, look, man, I want to go to Georgia Tech because, as you mentioned, you was thinking not just on the field, but off the field.
Absolutely. I think that my parents played a big role in that, in my decision and kind of just making me put everything on the table, and stand for what it is. And we knew that Georgia Tech was a prestigious institute, and I think it's like 2 in every 5 graduates are millionaires right now. So we knew that we wanted to go somewhere where it was best of both worlds. We kind of didn't want to, we knew we had the physical, the ability to play the sport of football and excel at it, but we didn't want to kind of put all of our chips in one basket, so to speak. We didn't want to be, disappointed and left out if the NFL didn't work for us. And we felt like Georgia Tech was the place for us to go, just because it did give us the best of both worlds, in terms of on-field and off-field. So, it was a no-brainer. It was 40 minutes down the road from where I lived, and right there close to family. Almost, family could come off to all the games all 5 years. So it was a no-brainer for me and my family, to be honest.
Jalen Camp joining us here on 3 and Out. Now, Jalen, you come from a football family. I know dad, uncle, your brother plays. Currently, yourself, who's the best guy at the Pigskin? Who's the best guy, one in the family playing football?
Currently, it's going. I'm gonna have to give it to myself. But here in the, I guess, future, it'll be my little 8-year-old brother. Just because he's already in the gym, getting his footwork right already. At 8 years old, I don't think I was doing that at 8 years old. And just working on his technique and things like that. So he's starting a lot earlier than me and my brother did. So I do believe that he's going to surpass us, very soon.
Very cool. I know a couple of Yellow Jackets on the roster there in Jacksonville, including Tyler Davis, who I believe you played with. Have you had a chance to talk with him at all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I talked to both of them, Nathan Cottrell, Adam Gotsis, and Tyler Davis, actually on draft day. We all reached out to each other and, just expressed how we were, how excited we all were about the opportunity. And it's just cool for me to have some familiar faces down there, once I get to Jacksonville, to be able to show me the ropes, show me how the pros work, how to be a professional and things like that. Once I get down there, I think that's pretty cool.
And Jalen, how much, if at all, less stressful is it on you knowing that you had a plan beyond football? You mentioned something that I don't think a lot of players understand. You like, look, man, if the NFL didn't come calling, I'm still gonna be all right. Most players, they only have one plan, and when that plan doesn't work, you kind of see how the rest of their life go. How much more or how much less stress do you put on yourself knowing that, look, my NFL dream came alive, but it's got to be something said about going to Georgia Tech and knowing that my future past football is going to be even greater?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that, just growing up, just seeing guys, no knock on them, but just seeing guys put all the chips into football. And, the NFL is, a very, I guess, specialized league where everybody does not make the league. And that's just how it's cut. And so, I think I just growing up seeing different guys put all the chips into football and maybe not work out, whether it be an injury or, ability or whatever the case may be. And then they're just, I guess, looking around. And I just kind of, put it on myself to not be that guy. You know what I'm saying? So, whether that was me making it, in the NFL, which I'm very grateful for, and I'm excited for the opportunity, or, off the field, in the classroom. and doing everything I can there, just to make sure I'm setting myself up for the future in the best way possible.
Jalen Camp, our guest here on 3 and Out. Jalen, really appreciate the time. Best of luck to you there in Jacksonville with the Jaguars. Again, thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all very much.
Appreciate it. Jalen Camp joining us here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. And again, his brother plays at Georgia Tech currently. He's got his uncle played at Auburn. His dad played college football. So a big football family. As he said, his 8-year-old brother, Christian, also getting in the mix. So a football playing family for sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, though. I've been confused since BJ's last question. And I understand it now, but it kind of took me aback for a second because BJ asked him about some yellow jackets that were on the team. And I was like, did the Hall of Fame change the color of their jackets, or is Jacksonville have a tradition that they're giving out yellow jackets down there for something? Because I've always heard it as just one word, yellow jackets, YELLA jackets. I've never heard anybody put it out as yellow jackets on the team. That kind of stunned me, Kevin. I don't know what to do with that.
I didn't realize there were so many in Jacksonville either. He started naming them off. I was like, wow, there's quite a few of us ex-teammates playing there for the Jaguars.
Yeah, and look, man, you're gonna have the Georgia Tech smack going back and forth because you got some Bulldogs on the roster too, and then you're coming in with Tyson Campbell, obviously, who was, I believe, an early second-round pick for Jacksonville. So a lot of energy. Obviously, the Clemson guys are headliners, but I mean, Ben, you've told me about the rivals you played with in the pros. That Georgia Tech-Georgia rivalry is going to be there.
It is. I mean, I'm not saying that Christian is biased or anything when it comes to the Yellow Jackets. I just think that he was, I know most people don't think about that space in between yellow and jacket. Christian said, I don't want that space in between. But no, I do think it's going to be great. And the thing about Jalen that people don't talk about enough is he likes to block. DBs do not like being blocked. They don't like hands being put on them. And that's going to make his game come together because Jalen, to me, BJ, when I look at his game, I see Anquan Bolden, just a faster Anquan Bolden because he's a bully receiver. He wants problems. He can run. I mean, he lives in the gym. I mean, if he got an 8-year-old brother, there's an 8-year-old phenom walking around in 8th grade with, walking around 8 years old with 12-pack. That's Jalen Campbell's brother. They are not allowed to have body fat. But no, I'm rooting for him because, like I said, most rookie classes, you just a slot filler. These guys are going to be asked to go play. And once again, their average age is 25, 26. And it's hard to win like that. But when you got a DJ Chark, when you got Marvin Jones, when you got Laviska Shenault, you add a Jalen Camp, you got totally different skill sets and every different receiver to be able to go out there and get it done with Travis Etienne and with Lawrence. So it should be a nice, exciting offense to watch.
Yeah, appreciate Jalen joining us here on 3 and Out. We've got more to come all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, glad you are with us here on the program. As again, we appreciate Jalen Camp joining us here on the show, talking some football with him. But college football, obviously, always in the news. We look at a lot of times talking about offense, but what about the defense here, fellas? Who are the top 5 defenses in college football heading into 2021? Of course, Alabama gets Henry To'oTo'o. As if they needed any more help on that side of the ball, BJ. But I know Christian left us his top 5. Bama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, A&M. Surprise, surprise. Outside of Oklahoma, most people think that's probably going to be what the top 5 looks like. So through it all, we like the offense, but does defense still get you to a championship at the end of the day?
Oh, absolutely. And I think for me, the conversation starts with Alabama and Clemson. I mean, that's no surprise. That's no hot take. But I think you're looking at Alabama after what was a relative down year defensively. Understand they were still good on defense, but you normally think about Bama as being, top 3, top 5 in every statistical category. That wasn't necessarily the case a year ago. But yeah, I look at their linebackers especially, Ben, and you see Will Anderson, you see Chris Allen off the edge. You already had Christian Harris and Jalen Moody in the middle. Now you add Henry To'oTo'o, who was one of the best linebackers in the country and Tennessee's leading tackler. It's amazing to go with the guys you have along the defensive line and in the secondary. I think Alabama, at just about every position, will have backups who have multiple starts on their resume. And that's incredible. And that's one of the things that separates a team like Alabama is the not only the starting prowess, but the reserves, the rotational guys as well. I look at Clemson. I know you had Mike Jones transfer to LSU, and you had Darion Kendrick obviously into the portal, but everybody else is back. You had 9 starters with those 2 guys going returning, and you're talking about a defensive line that is probably the best in the country with Murphy and Brisset up front. You're talking about Skowski back at linebacker. You're talking about Booth at corner. You're talking about guys that are going to be first-round picks. And then, of course, with Brent Venables, his scheme has put those guys in a position to be incredibly successful. And year in and year out, you've had playmakers emerge. So I think you're going to have some good defenses. I really like Cincinnati a lot. Myjai Sanders from Camden, big-time star for them. We saw him in the Peach Bowl. But I think for me, when you talk about defense in college football in 2021, it starts for me with Alabama and Clemson.
Oh, yeah, BJ. I mean, when you look at the fact that Alabama's going to be a team that's going to rely on their defense a lot this year with Bryce Young and that offense trying to get things going. I mean, Georgia, they bring back a ton. I mean, they're going to have to get that secondary, better sooner rather than later when you look at some of the competition starting with the opening game of the season. I mean, Brent Venables is the premier defensive coordinator in college football. I don't care who you ask. I mean, Ohio State, not really. Always known to have big-time DBs, big-time pass rushers, BJ, but I think, Ohio State is going to be looking to be more balanced this year, and that defense is going to have a lot to do with it. Texas A&M, I'm looking forward. Their defense kind of came on strong towards the end of last year, but Cincinnati, the team that, definitely going to have it on offense. You saw what they was able to do against Georgia, in the Peach Bowl. LSU might have the second best player in college football this year with Derek Stingley Jr., Durante Jones coming over, a DB coach from Minnesota coming over. Is going to really have to get that team together. But Oregon, I know a team we don't talk about a lot. Thibodeau. Thibodeau is the best defensive player in college football. Not only is he the best defensive player in the Pac-12, he's the best defensive player in the country, and he returns punts. And the thing about it is, I didn't know if this was the top defense to come back in 2021 or the college football playoff ranking. It looks real similar. Bama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, A&M, LSU, Cincinnati, Oregon. But that enough, you're going to have to deal with these offenses. They defenses are ranked in the top 10 with LSU, Cincinnati, and Oregon being just on the outside. But, yeah, I just think that we haven't talked that much, BJ, in the last couple of years about Alabama's defense, and that's scary. As good as they've been on offense, Clemson is Clemson. Georgia going to have to, if Georgia can be balanced on offense, and that defense can come along with their front 7, even though they're replacing some guys, like Monty Rice. like Ojulari and those guys, we'll be able to see them go out there and make some plays. But yeah, different year, same result. The top teams in the country are not just tops in recruiting, but they got the best defense coming back, and obviously the rich keep getting richer with Alabama adding different guys. I don't know if that was his car the other day on Twitter. You kind of took that tweet down when you saw that nice looking Camaro. I mean, I'm just saying
That was a nice ride.
That was a nice ride. I'm just saying maybe he was test driving. I don't know. It was nice, but yeah, Alabama without even their new additions is going to be really, really good. But what can I say? The top teams in college football just happen to have the top defenses coming back in 2021. Surprise, surprise.
Again, defense still gets you there at the end of the day, BJ and Ben. And again, you see a lot of all of what you guys talked about. Cincinnati, even the guys that were outside of your top fives. I mean, they're still looked at as Cincinnati could be a potential playoff crasher. Maybe they'll have to do some things, but I mean, they were right there with Georgia in the bowl game till late. I think a lot of people think they might be in a position similar this year if they can get some of their big wins under their belt. But despite all the fact that we talk about offense and this and that, look who everybody thinks has the best defenses in college football, and it still looks like the top 5, top 10 for the most part.
And that's to me what would be a little worrisome about Alabama if you're in the SEC. Not that you need any more to worry about, but they won the national championship in a year where they were not top 30 nationally in defense. And normally, if they're outside of the top 5, it's really stunning. And I think when you talk about the players that are coming back, To'o coming in, I think obviously they're going to take even if it's just a modest step back offensively. When you lose those playmakers, obviously Jones, the offensive line, I don't necessarily think you'll see the same offensive production, but who knows? But defensively, I would expect a very significant improvement from Alabama. And if you're playing them, Ben, I know the Gators got them early. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking forward to Alabama coming to town. I mean, and they got postponed in 2020 because of the all-SEC schedule. They were supposed to go ahead and get that out of the way this year. But Alabama is always going to be the measuring stick. No matter who you are and what you are, you got to be able to get past that immovable object in Tuscaloosa, which a lot of people have been able to do it. I mean, Georgia, a lot of preseason expectation. Is this the year? Can the defense help, lead them, even though you're going to have a high-powered offense? Clemson, I mean, all they do is reload. I mean, these guys gonna have some of the best players coming out. We're not too many years removed, BJ, them having the greatest defensive line in college football history. Ohio State, I mean, I don't know. Is it another Bosa out there somewhere? Is it another Chase Young out there somewhere? I mean, I'm pretty sure they got another great one in the works at Ohio State. They normally do. A&M is going to be that team that's going to have to prove it on defense, because that might be the only way they stay in some of ththese games, that they do indeed get into a track meet. As Kevin mentioned, Cincinnati was one of that team, fighting to be able to make the punch their ticket in the college football playoff. When you look at some of the teams they got to go up against, and LSU and Oregon, so you got some big names, some big time players and big time teams. But like I said, dear, no matter if it's college football playoff, top players returning, Alabama gonna find itself being at the top no matter what. And unless you Texas A&M talking about you gonna beat that, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Jimbo Fisher's ready to go. Let's play it today, baby. Go Alabama. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. Glad you are with us. Braves off tonight. As they await the Toronto Blue Jays for a 3-game series. We'll see Chris Martin back tomorrow night, BJ and Ben. And obviously we await Shane Green potentially to make his appearance in a couple of weeks after the Braves sign him to a 1-year deal. But in the interim, we got Hawks basketball on tonight against the Wizards. Hawks trying to hang on there to the 5th place spot in the East, and would likely play the Knicks in the playoffs with just 4 games after tonight, 3 games left in the regular season.
Yeah, Hawks are playing really well and excited to see what they can do here down the stretch. Would love if you could move up one spot, or I don't know if they can quite move up a couple, but if you could move up one spot in the standings and kind of tilt that in your favor, that would be something. But yeah, Braves moving forward, big series. Toronto's good. This is a lineup that is really, really productive, and we saw that firsthand. Getting Martin back will be a big deal. Kevin, I mean, what's your projection? How long will it take Shane Green to get good to go in your mind?
Well, again, I doubt, one would hope he's not been sitting at the house just hanging out. But again, you haven't seen live pitching. So I would imagine give him a decent workload at AAA or AA to get him to get back in the groove. I would treat it kind of like spring training, 2-3 weeks probably to really feel good about it. So you're talking June before you see him, but getting Chris Martin back will be nice. And again, Tyler Flowers might be on that same track as Shane Green to get up there and fulfill a catching role. So, again, I think this Braves team going to look a little different. That's why it's always funny in sports when we sit here at the beginning of the season, you're like, well, this is what it looks like. And then a month in, the roster looks nothing like it looks like on opening day, right? Raise your hand if you had Ire Adrianza making commitments, or Guillermo Heredia being potentially your starting center fielder when he comes back from injury. These crazy things happen throughout the course of a baseball season where your roster looks nothing like you thought it was going to be.
I mean, isn't that what baseball is, though, Kevin? The ability to adjust on the fly, which it happens all the time. And like I say, we still ain't got Mike Soroka back. I mean, we still waiting on him to come out. Christian Pache, we said this, you picking the Andrew Jones number. As I want that smoke, I'm like, all right. I mean, and the thing is, somebody said, as you say, Kevin, you don't have to give us a lot on our offense, but you have to give us something. And right now, he ain't even giving you that bare minimum. But hopefully, I say, no matter who they run out there, the Braves are going to have to stick with their winning ways, because nobody's going to give this Braves team any slack when you coming out back to back to back NL East champs. Go out there and get it done.
Again, we appreciate Jalen Camp joining us here on 3 and Out on this Monday. Also, Ben Ingram of the Braves Radio Network for joining us, looking at all the things going on with the Braves after a wild weekend series with the Philadelphia Phillies. So we appreciate him joining us. If you missed any portion of the show, ESPNcoastal.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you can go to our YouTube channel as well and catch anything you may have missed each and every day here on 3 and Out. Hawks are coming up later tonight against the Wizards, and we'll see you tomorrow. 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network and ESPN Coastal.